have tried to pick these books up so many times and they just keep falling everywhere. What's up, my friends? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Tori. If you're new, I am so stinking happy and excited that you're here because we are doing a unhaul video. This is my first unhaul. I'm excited. Also, I just want to let you guys know that all of these books are listed on my Pango Books account. So I'm going to be selling all of these if you're interested in buying any of them. That link will be down below. And just to pop it up on screen, this is Pango Books. It's an app that you can download. It's really cool. A bunch of people sell some really awesome editions of books on Pango, and they're usually at a discounted price from a usual retail price. So if you want to get some cool books at a cheaper price, check out Pango. Mine are all listed at a discount as well. Let's get into it. Okay, so I have 15 books that I'm going to be unhauling, and it is a very eclectic mix of books. I'm gonna start with a couple that would be best paired together, I think. So the first ones that I'm going to be unhauling, I haven't read these, but honestly, I have no desire to, and I don't know where I got these. These are the first two books of the Game of Thrones series. So this is obviously an older series by George R.R. Martin. I feel like everyone knows about Got, so I'm not gonna go into a huge explanation of these. The show is amazing. I've also heard the books are absolutely fantastic. I was just not in the mood to pick up such an epic fantasy. So these are like the mass market paperback copies. These are the first two books that I'm going to unhaul. Again, I'm just like never going to reach for these or pick these up. So I was like, might as well sell them or give them away to someone who wants them. The next books that I have are a fantasy duology. I actually really loved these books, and that is The Rise of Kyoshi and The Shadow of Kyoshi by F.C. Lee. This is a spin-off series from Atla. Atla is one of my absolute favorite TV shows of all time. I need to read the like graphic novels or comics of Atla. I just haven't gotten around to it, but I love Atla so much, and I will continue to do so until the day that I die. The best like kids show ever that I think can appeal to anyone of any age, and that's how these books were as well. So these were so wonderfully written. It was literally just like diving back into the Atla universe. They were wonderful, and obviously these are following Avatar Kyoshi. So it is before Aang's time, and we get to learn about her backstory. She was, in my opinion, one of the more interesting avatars that we got to see little peeks of in the Atla TV series, but never got a whole lot about her life. This gives you her entire backstory, and also it's an LGBTQIA plus rep series, which I stinking love, like literally loved so much. Goes through so much hardship and like is kind of seen as the villain at times, but she is so strong. This was such a beautiful book and duology. Like both of them are just absolutely stunning. Stick with that YA fantasy vein for the moment. So the next book that I'll talk about that I am unhauling is Year of the Reaper by Makia Lucier, question mark. This is the Fairy Loot edition. It is the signed Fairy Loot edition, and it has these really stunning, just black sprayed edges. Love that. Follows Lord Cassia, who 3 years ago disappeared in the midst of a war on a mission entrusted to him by the king. Since then, a devastating plague has swept the land, leaving countless dead and the kingdom altered forever. Having survived rotting in a prison cell and merciless illness, Cass, now 18, wants to only return to his home in the mountains and forget the past horrors. But home is not as he remembers. His castle has become a refuge for the royal court, and they have brought their enemies with them. When an assassin targets those close to the queen, Cass is drawn in to search for a killer, one that leads him to form an unexpected bond with a brilliant young historian named Lena. Cass and Lena soon realize that who is behind the attacks is far less important than why, and they must look to the past, following the trail of a terrible secret, one that could threaten the kingdom's newfound peace and plunge it back into war. I have not gotten to this book yet. It sounded really interesting. I had 2 of these Fairy Loot editions sent to me, so I'm getting rid of one of them because I just don't need it. And this was the book, like I just showed, that I put the signed nameplate in. I thought it would be fun, and if someone really loves this book and wants a signed edition, there you go. I actually have to show you. There's also dust jacket art, which is really pretty. The next book that I have is also a Fairy Loot edition, and that is Only a Monster by Vanessa Len. Again, really pretty sprayed purple edges on this one. And there is some absolutely gorgeous end page art. So I read this book, I gave it 3 stars. This is really fun. We follow our main character, who is a 16-year-old living in London named Joan, and she is determined to enjoy herself. She works at this historic Holland house, and she's super into history, and she is kind of falling for her cute coworker, Nick. But that quickly changes. She's on her way to their first date when her life starts spinning out of control. Trying to be a good Samaritan, her life begins to unravel. Her family isn't just eccentric, they're monsters with terrifying hidden powers, and she discovers her powers. It's kind of a coming of age story. Nick isn't just a cute boy, her crush, he's a legendary monster slayer, and he's hunting after her. As she battles Nick, Joan is forced to work with the beautiful and ruthless Erin Oliver, heir to a monster family that hates her own. She'll have to embrace her own monstrousness if she is to save herself and her family, because in this story, she is not the hero. It was really fun. The magic system in this is very intriguing, and we get some time travel magic, which sometimes can be written in a very confusing way. I found this to be really approachable and really fun. It also jumps, like I just mentioned, in time due to that time travel magic, and there is such a cool 90s like try on different outfit moment. It felt very like Princess Diaries type try on stuff, except make it grunge. I just know that I'm not going to pick this up again. I might continue on with this series, but it was kind of one of those like, yeah, this is a fun YA fantasy to pick up and read really fast type deal. Okay, this is my last Fairy Loot edition of anything. I'm going to be getting rid of The Coldest Touch by Isabel Sterling. This was a really stunning sapphic, I'm going to say a sapphic YA fantasy. So we follow our main character, Elise, who is cursed. Every time she touches someone, she can see and experience their death. So she can see their death, but she's not able to prevent it, which is absolutely destroying her entire life. She can't touch anyone. She can't give her mom a hug or her dad, and she doesn't want to see or feel how these people are dying. But she meets this vampire named Claire, and Claire tells her that she can fix all of her problems and master her powers so that she has the option to not see people's death and feel their death anymore. At first, Elise is reluctant to work with Claire because she's like, sis, you're just gonna help me out of the goodness out of your heart? I don't think so. Like, what's the catch here? But as Elise and Claire grow closer, Elise begins to wonder, can she really trust someone tasked with securing her loyalty? Someone who could easily kill her, someone who might hold the key to unraveling her brother's mysterious death. This was a moment. This was a fun time. I read this in one day. Again, it's just not something that I'm going to return to. So I was like, let me unhaul this and make some room on my shelves, you know what I mean? Okay, and then my last YA fantasy that I'm going to be unhauling is Lore by Alexandra Bracken. You know me, like I love a good Greek mythology retelling. This was really interesting. The premise of this is every 7 years there's this game, this deadly game called the Agon. It's a punishment for a past rebellion. 9 Greek gods are forced to walk the earth as mortals, and they are hunted by the descendants of ancient bloodlines, all eager to kill the god, and whoever kills the god takes on their power and becomes that god. So if you were to kill the Zeus as he's mortal walking around, you would take on all of Zeus's powers and become the new Zeus. So our main character is named Lore, and she fled that brutal world. She turned her back on it. She wanted zero part of it, and she wanted to live a normal human life because her family was really brutally murdered by a rival line, and she just said, absolutely not, I want nothing to do with this. Well, the next hunt begins, and it's in New York City, which is where she is, and 2 participants seek her out. Castor, a childhood friend that Lore believed to be dead, and Athena, one of the last original gods who's now gravely wounded. And so Lore has to navigate this deadly game, try not to get sucked into this world, which obviously she does, and help out these 2 people who have sought her out to try to survive this deadly game, trial, craziness, whatever you want to call it. So this is a really fun premise. I just wasn't the biggest fan of the writing style, and it wasn't as suspenseful as I thought it could be. I am going to be unhauling this beauty, but she's gorgeous, and also her stunning just white cover. Okay, and then the foiled, even if you just took off the dust jacket and had this on your shelves, like how stunning is that? I actually lied. I have one more. I wasn't sure if this was classified as a YA fantasy, but I think it is because of the romance. I'm also going to be unhauling The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is the paperback edition, and it has this cool little cutout with the little circus. This book was absolutely beautifully written. If you like a lyrical writing style that is so whimsical, the magic in this is absolutely beautiful. It's a very character-driven story. It's very much a lot of vibes and not a lot of plot, but if you're looking for a super autumnal, cozy circus vibes, this is it. Like, this is such a beautifully, beautifully written book. I know that Erin Morgenstern is very well known. I really enjoyed this. As slow as it was, I was there for the vibes. There's also some really cool just like artwork type stuff in here. So we follow 2 magicians who are in this lifetime competition that they didn't really know about, and they don't know who each other is. So they're in this magic off type competition, but they don't know who they're competing against. And they both get kind of roped into this really mysterious magical night circus that appears all around the world, stays for a week, and then just disappears. And so to the normal person on the street, they're like, where will this night circus just appear one night in the dead of night and then be gone a week later, and we have to go. Celia and Marco are the 2 main characters that we follow, and they've been trained since childhood expressly for this purpose by their mercurial instructors. Unbeknownst to them both, this is a game in which only one can be left standing. Amidst the high stakes, Celia and Marco soon tumble headfirst into love, setting off a domino effect of dangerous consequences, leaving the lives of everyone from the performers to the patrons hanging in the balance. I think I gave this book 4 stars, like, or a 4.5. I enjoyed it so much. This just isn't something that I'm going to return to. Experiencing it once for me was enough, even though I did love it. It's just not going to be a reread for me. We'll do 2 like more serious books next. This first one is How to Make Friends with the Dark by Kathleen Glasgow. This is a fiction YA that is so sad. It deals with a girl who's in high school who loses her mother very tragically and very unexpectedly, and it is her journey with grief. This is not the easiest book to read. Definitely check trigger warnings before you read it, but this book has such a powerful message. It sheds a really interesting light on the experience of foster care and foster homes and the adoption system or foster care system in the United States, as well as dealing with the loss of a loved one, of a parent. Very raw, very emotional, very impactful. Kathleen Glasgow's writing and characters are so well-rounded, so incredibly well-rounded. From the beginning of this book to the end of this book, you are just immersed into this character's feelings. So If you're looking for an emotional read, I highly recommend this book. I think I gave it 5 stars, if not something very close to 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. The next more serious book that I have, this is I don't even know how to describe this. It's a thriller, question mark, but the thing is, it's not like fast-paced. What this does is it takes a mystery. We have the disappearance of 2 young girls that is extremely tragic, and it takes place in a very interesting part of the world. So it takes place in this peninsula in Russia, where we know that the kidnapper couldn't leave the peninsula type thing, so we know that the girls are still on this landmass, and the communities on this landmass, everyone knows each other, or like knows of each other, and news spreads very quickly because it is such a tight-knit, closed off, isolated community. Interesting, like, mystery crime novel where the plot is really, really important on the geographic location. So I was really, really intrigued about this book. I'm sorry, it's called Disappearing Earth by Julia Phillips. Hello, getting ahead of myself. I was trying to think, like, how do I even describe what this book is? It's on the Kamchatka Peninsula, and this story is told each chapter in a different point of view from someone else on the peninsula, trying to connect the dots of the girls' disappearance and how to get them back. It's one of the most interesting mysteries that I've ever read, again, because it wasn't super fast-paced. However, I was very interested in this entire book, in everyone's different perspective that we got to experience, how the little girls' disappearances impacted their life, and each character added to the story in, like, connecting all of the clues. It was very, very intriguing. I'm just getting rid of this because with mysteries and with thrillers, it's usually like a one and done type thing for me. I'm never going to read this book again because, like, I know what happens. But highly recommend if you're looking for something that's really intriguing and really unique from anything else that you've read. Definitely recommend this one. The next book that I have is a YA horror thriller. It is all of the paranormal spooky vibes. This is Horrid by Katrina Leno. Also, what a cover. What a cover. I read this in one sitting. It was on a plane ride, and this was such a good plane book. It felt like the plane ride was 20 minutes. Like, I looked up and I was like, oh, I finished my book. And we were landing in, like, you know, 5 minutes. We follow our main character Jane and her mom, who are forced to move from sunny California to Maine because after her father's death, her mom, now a single parent, is having some financial problems, and they're going to move back to Maine where they have a family home that's paid off. But Jane is not happy about it. She does not want to leave California. I don't blame her. The house that they move into is notorious in the town, known as North Manor, and everyone thinks that it's haunted. Everyone is convinced that it's haunted. None of her new friends at her school want to visit their house because there's ghosts there. But it is so atmospheric to, like, a New England autumnal vibe. Jane begins making friends, but also faces bullying and struggles to tamp down her own worst nature in response. Jane has some weird habits, we'll say, that she does to deal with her anxiety. Meanwhile, Ruth is spiraling with the return to her childhood home. Ruth is her mother, but she won't reveal why. Then Jane discovers that the storage room that Ruth has kept locked isn't for storage at all. It's a little girl's bedroom left untouched for years and not quite as empty of inhabitants as it appears. Who doesn't love a YA supernatural horror? You know, it's gonna be a fun time. You know it's gonna be a fun time. Again, with horrors and thrillers, I'm really not gonna read them more than once. So I'm gonna get rid of this one. Okay, these last 3 are pretty random, I'm not gonna lie. The next one that I'm unhauling is Christmas by the Book by Anne Marie Ryan. This was a Hallmark movie in a book, and it's obviously like a Christmas fiction book. We follow Nora and Simon, who are an older couple that run the most beautiful oak-beamed bookshop in their British village for 30 years. But times are tough. but times are tough and the shop is under threat of closure. This holiday season will decide their fate. So the couple decides that to try to save their store, they're going to send out mystery books to people who win this social media contest. They do like a giveaway, and it's people in their town, and they send them books that they think will really resonate with them at the time and what they're going through. It's all vibes, not a lot of plot, but we get to follow, does this tactic help them save their store, or do they end up closing the store? Again, this is such a cozy Christmas book, but like, I'm never gonna read this again. Okay, these last two are non-fictions, like Who Am I? But I went through this phase where I was just obsessed with history. One of the books is The Lost City of Z by David Graham. This is now a, I'm sorry about the sticker, I'll try to take it off, but it is now a major motion picture. I loved this movie as well, and this nonfiction reads like a fiction. It's about a British explorer named Percy Fawcett, who in 1925 ventured into the Amazon jungle in search of a fabled civilization located deep in the deadly wilderness, and he never made it out. He did not make it out alive. But it was his quest for the lost city of Z. And the things that this man and his expedition crew had to like go through to journey from England to the Amazon, and then how they had to like rough it in the terrain, was extremely interesting to me. And there's also pictures in here as well of like their drawings of what they saw. Like that's a boa constrictor or a python or something, and there's pictures, like actual pictures, and it was really cool. It was a fun time. So if you're in your nonfiction era and you want to read a really cool like adventure story and then watch the movie after, I highly recommend it. It was so fun. And then this last book, I will not lie, I did not even get to. New Revelations of the Americas Before Columbus by Charles C. Mann. This is a 2nd edition book. This one also has a lot of pictures and maps and history, and it is about Columbus and making new revelations on studying history, making new discoveries. And this these theories and like revelations that are saying what they wrote in the history books the first time wasn't true is very criticized. It's very interesting. I just read maybe the first like 30%, and it reads like a history book, and I was like, I need something a little bit more interesting than this. But again, if you're in your nonfiction era and you like history, this is kind of a cool book to pick up. That is all of them, my friends. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. And again, if you're interested in purchasing any of these books, I'm going to leave my Pango book account linked down below so you can buy them, and I will ship them out to you in the same week. Who doesn't love some cheap books? Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one, friends. Bye!